Welcome everyone to the second edition of Chemport Connect Live. Last time we discussed sustainable plastics and how to cross the valley of death. This time we will have a look at the recycling of polyester and its future. Feel free, all of you, to join in with questions. You can use the chat function for that, and we will take as many questions into the discussion as we can. We will be discussing this afternoon with four persons, which I will briefly introduce to you right now. When I'm counting quickly, I think we have over more than 100 years of experience in the chemical industry at this table. Live from England, Wales, we have a connection with Stephen Short by telephone and computer, I think. Stephen Short, president of Petcore. Maybe you can briefly introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, certainly. Thanks for the introduction, Jaap, and thank you for the invitation to address this important topic to everybody around the world, I believe, who is joining us. My position, President of PETCO Europe, it's an ABSL, an organization representing the value chain of the PET industry from start to finish, and we're based in Brussels. My history is 40 years basically with the one company being Eastman Chemical and then Indorama in the PET industry. So I've almost had my whole life blowing plastic bottles.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversation. Thank you, yeah.
Okay, great. And thus far we have a stable connection. So you're using the phone for the audio and the computer for the visuals this afternoon. It's great to have you here. Thank you for being there. Henk Pool from another country, but also on screen from the European Chemical Industry Consortium, I think.
Association, indeed.
Yes,
yes.
association.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening for some of you. Indeed, my name is Henk Pool. I work at CEFIC. CEFIC is the Chemical Industry Association. We're based in Brussels. We're representing the interest of the chemical industry. Across Europe, we have only 29,000 members. So I think this afternoon, a few of you might be member, or otherwise may want to join the membership. And we represent that interest in Brussels, where we interact daily, but also with Brussels. And that is, we'll explain that a little bit later on. On myself, I have, I'm not topping the 40 years of Stephen. I have 5 less years, so 35 years in the chemical industry. And next to blowing bottles, I have done other things as well, but mostly working in different sectors within the chemical industry. Well, so I look forward for the discussion.
Yeah, we'll be hearing much more from you later on. Then at this table, Q representative Marco Brons. Yes. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Q Technologies.
Yeah, I'll firstly introduce myself, Marco Brons, Chief Technology Officer of Chemport and Cure. Chemport is mechanical recycling of PET. Cure is the development of chemical recycling of PET.
Okay.
And we are starting up. We have a pilot plant, and I think the rest of the information will be discussed
follow later.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Cor Kamminga, member of the coordination group of Chemport Europe. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Chemport Europe, because we had a first edition a month ago, and not everyone was there, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So
no, it's good to give you a short introduction on Chemport Europe. In 2017, the northern region, that's to say the 3 northern provinces in the Netherlands, started an initiative to greening the chemical industry in the region. Of course, the plastic industry is an important part of that. Yeah. And we are organized in a very good way, that together with Delfzijl, the industry park there, and also Emmen, where also Cure is situated, and I'm representing the chemical cluster Emmen in the coordination team, as you said, for Chemport Europe.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll be hearing
we will come back to that later on.
You'll be my sidekick.
Yeah. So I'll do my best.
Yeah, you drop in all the questions you can have. And my name is Jaap Jepma, and I'll be your host for the next 60 minutes, in which we will be talking about the recycling of polyester. Let us first watch a short video about the urgency of the topic we're discussing today.
Plastic is part of our daily life and has many benefits. But do you know what happens to your plastic waste? Plastic waste has become a major challenge to our society. Today, just 15% of Europe's collected plastic waste is recycled into new products. 85% is incinerated or sent to a landfill. This is a source of CO2 emissions and a waste of valuable resources. Europe wants to establish a circular plastics economy. How? Chemistry can make a difference. Chemical recycling technologies can treat mixed or contaminated plastic waste that cannot be recycled with existing mechanical solutions. These technologies can add value to unused plastic waste by turning it into new chemicals and plastics which can be used for plastic bricks, insulation boxes, new food packaging or new mattresses. Importantly, the quality stays the same as products made from fossil resources. Chemical recycling helps to reduce landfill and the leakage of plastics into the environment, makes Europe less dependent on fossil resources imports, and emits less CO2 than incineration of the same waste. In the future, we see a Europe where the plastics economy has gone circular and waste has become one of our most valuable resources.
Cor Kamminga, is the chemical industry a key enabler for sustainability?
I think it's undeniable that the chemical industry has a lot to do and has a lot of potential. So I can only agree with your observation that the chemical industry is main in achieving the goals we have on circularity and the circular economy.
Okay, let's ask the same question to the seniors in our midst with their long history in the chemical industry. Henk Pool, how do you reflect on a question like that? Is it a key enabler for sustainability?
It's an absolute key enabler, but let me illustrate this as well, Jaap. So when you look at 2050, what does Europe want to get to? It wants to become fully green, completely green and completely digitally transformed. So when you analyze that, and you particularly look at the green aspects, what are we looking for? Full circularity and no emissions. So that is the combination of challenges that we're after. And when you specifically then look into the chemical industry, I think we need and we will and we are going to put ourselves into a pivotal position of that. Yeah. Okay. And a pivotal position in terms of chemistry is probably on a molecular scale. So we also have a paper out that is called The Molecule Manager, in which we portray our vision towards 2050. But I also think today you will see examples, also in the discussion of today, where molecules play in a very important role. So my answer is yes.
Yes. Okay. And Stephen Short, you're sharing that opinion?
Yes, I will be very brief. I think the situation we've got now, of course, is it's got to be believable. The situation is, yes, chemistry has the answer to its own dilemma, because for years we have been working on a linear process. And to suddenly change the circularity has got to be taken on board by the public as a whole and believed in, respected. I only have to look at my old employer Kodak, and chemical photography is dead now. It's digital photography. What we've got to prove is our chemistry is not dead. It is having a renaissance, which will bring back to the public what we actually need, and that is sustainability.
Yeah, I see Henk Pool nodding in his camera. Cor Kamminga, in what way is Chemport Europe involved in those ambitions to play such a key role with the chemical industry?
Especially for plastics, we have, as a whole region, now set some ambitions for 2020, 30, 2050, because the chemical industry will need some time to adjust their course, so to say. And we have an important role to play, because we have a lot of initiatives from the smaller companies and also from the knowledge institutes. CURE is an example of one of these initiatives we have in the region, together with some other initiatives, especially on chemical recycling. So I think that we are, in fact, one of the main drivers for getting to a more circular economy in the plastics arena.
Okay, in the Dutch province of Drenthe, Emmen seems to be a hotspot for the development of recycling techniques. Is that true?
Yeah, I can only say yes to that, because we have the mechanical recycling, as already Marco mentioned before, and now adding to that, also the chemical recycling is getting speed. So that means that in the province of Drenthe, as you said, Emmen is one of the main hotspot,
the main drivers,
the main driver for this this recycling part.
Yeah. Okay. Is mechanical recycling also an issue for the Dutch industries?
It all starts with mechanical recycling, of course, because you only get to chemical recycling, and that is what Marco can more explain in more detail. But you first start with mechanical recycling. But if that is not the solution, then chemical recycling is a very important technique.
Yeah. Okay. Let's turn to Marco Brons. Your company is heavily involved in those developments. Is that a continuing story in the search for possibilities to change?
Yeah, what you see is that mechanical recycling of bottles is being done and is growing traditionally, but there's a large part of the polyester which is not recycled at all at the moment, and that's partly packaging, and but for a very big chunk, it's textile.
Textile.
The polyester in textile is not being recycled at all. So there's a huge road to go.
Yeah.
And there is no way, Marco, that you can do that in a mechanical way, textile
No,
recycling?
design for recycling is very important in that sense. We have seen that in the packaging, that PET bottles are becoming more and more developed for design for recycling, and they are getting clear instead of colored, for example, and that's being recycled very, very good in mechanical way.
Okay.
But in mechanical recycling, you cannot restrict the colors. So if you have colored material and other materials combined with polyester, then you have to do it in a chemical way.
Yeah. In order to gain speed, is there a lot of cooperation with local authorities, business partners, and knowledge institutions in the region,
Yeah,
or
we
even
have a very
worldwide?
strong relationship with the universities in the northern part of Holland, with Groningen, but also the applied universities close by, and normally about 10 students are working and doing subjects for R&D subjects for us.
So the knowledge institutions are good involved?
Yeah, they are very good involved.
Yeah, local governments, are they helping as well?
They are helping a lot, and we have a regular contact with the local government. So the triangle is working very fine for us.
Okay, and the business partners, when we're looking around here in the studio, we can see your company.
Yeah.
On a terrain where are a lot of other companies as well.
That's correct.
You cooperate in the search for these new technologies?
Yeah, we, for example, Cure is a joint venture between Chemport and Moschenkopf.
Yeah.
Moschenkopf is a friend of working a lot in polyester recycling, but also other polymers. But we joined forces to develop the chemical recycling process, for example.
Okay. Before we are going to look at the hurdles you have to take, we have a brief video that introduces us to Cure Technologies. Yes? Let's watch that.
Welcome at Cure Technology here in Emmen, the Netherlands. At Cure, we have a very clear mission. As society, we clearly have a problem with plastics. Give, for instance, this textile. At Cure, we want to use this product to recycle this, to decolor it. And this is very, very critical because as humanity, we produce no less than 70 billion kilograms of this material and only 9% is being recycled. What we can do here in our pilot plant is to take it colored and turn it into non-colored. With that, we can make fully fit for use polyester that can be used in any application again. You will see later the images of our pilot plant, and we're very proud to have received strong support from the northern region here. Province of Drenthe, City of Emmen, but also we are a proud member of the ecosystem of the Chemport Europe community. Also, the market recognizes that Cure is doing something unique, and we're very proud to have received sponsorship from Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partners. And with them, we try to make this big transition a real situation.
For Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partners, sustainability is at the core of all our strategies. In order to do so, we also believe that with regards to our plastic packaging, we need to work towards a more circular economy. over the long term, we would like to remove our need for fossil-based resins and would like to replace it with like virgin resins as such. In order to do so, Coca-Cola believes very strongly in depolarization technologies such as the Cure technology, which is a great technology which can help us achieve this circular economy for our PET plastic packagings, so which can be very big complementary towards our mechanical recycling as such.
It's a great video. Are you saying you're really capable of producing the same quality as virgin PET is with this recycling technique?
Yeah, that's the goal, to have a product, to produce a product which is suitable for the production of all kind of different applications.
Okay.
So from food packaging, but also textile or polyester specialties.
Okay. Thank you. As I said before, if you have any questions at home, please feel free to ask them in the chat so we can get them on the table. With partners like Coca-Cola, as we saw in the video, you seem to be in a flow. Are you experiencing any hurdles, or is it going at speed the way you like it to go?
The main hurdle is that we need to speed up our development. And we want to be commercial as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's also what Coca-Cola wants, because they need material. What you see now is that Coca-Cola is mentioning that 100% of their bottles are being 100% recycled material.
Recycled material, yeah.
But if you have a 100% closed loop of mechanical recycling, slowly your quality is going down. So you need to refresh, you need to rejuvenate polyester to get at the same level.
Okay, and what do you need mostly to gain the required speed? Is it legislation or regulation, or is it materials?
It's a combination, because the collection rate is important, but also legislation is important. And what you see is that for mechanical recycling, there's a legislation prescribing that you need to have food packaging materials, input material. There's no legislation for chemical recycling, and there's the food packaging legislation for virgin materials. And we are somewhere in between. So there's no real legislation. At the moment, we need to fulfill the requirements for virgin food packaging. But we expect that there will be a legislation for chemical recycling specifically.
Yeah.
And what important is that we are not restricted in input material for chemical recycling, but that we need to prove the quality of the end product.
That's the regulation necessary.
Yeah, that's the regulation which is necessary.
Okay. What do you need in that from governments, maybe on local or national or even European level?
Well, we are a member of PETCOR, so we within PETCOR we combine the knowledge of the different processes of chemical recycling of polyesters in Europe and actually worldwide. Okay. And as PETCOR, we are trying to influence the legislation to be a suitable legislation, which still guarantees the safety of the product.
Okay. Is it a national playing field, or is the chemical industry needing these worldwide or European playing field to organize the next steps?
Of course, we need a larger geographical area than only here in the Netherlands, if you are referring to our region. And of course, the link to the European Union, but also to global consortia is very important for us here in the Chemport region.
Okay.
So I think that also the link to the people from Brussels is very much important, but because, as I said before, we have the initiatives here that can bring something to the society and the community in the future in terms of chemical recycling, but also other parts of circular plastics. But of course, we need to build up consortia to also bring these initiatives to the level that are commercial attractive.
Okay, I see we're already having questions in the chat. Let me share one with you. The first one is about the partnering with Coca-Cola. Will the focus of the Cure process be bottle flakes, or will you also extend into mixed materials?
Our process is developed for polyesters in general. And because we are doing mechanical recycling of clear and light blue bottles in Chemport, we don't want to take that material out of the mechanical recycling chain. Everything what is mechanically being recycled, you have to recycle it on a mechanical way. So we are focusing on other polyester streams.
Okay.
That can be either trays, they are not recycled at the moment, or colored materials, or opaque bottles, for example, but also the textile part.
Okay. You wanted to add something
No,
to it, Cor, or you just...
I just recognize what Marco just said.
Okay,
so
okay.
that's why I was...
Okay. I see we have a second question already too. I can't read the full screen, so maybe they can lower it a bit. How does the virgin pricing influence the development? Yeah, and then I can't see the rest of it. Please, maybe you can help me out. Yes, there it is already. How does the virgin pricing affect the development of chemical recycled polyesters?
Of course, the virgin pricing is an important part of the whole world and the pricing issues.
Yeah.
But what we see is that there is a demand for recycled material, which is growing because of the legislation. So also what is seen in the single-use plastics legislation, that there is a prescribed percentage of recycled material in each bottle, already increased the demand for recycled material. And especially the bigger brands, they want to be better than the legislation. So they are increasing from 25 to 50 or even 100% recycled content. So the demand is very strong, and that also makes a difference between the pricing of virgin in respect to recycled material.
With the demand being so strong, you'd expect you can make this progress in a very quick time, maybe. Is then regulation running far behind? Is that the main hurdle?
We are developing very quickly, and we want to be in a commercial scale in 2024, and that's not that far away. So it is important that the legislation also keeps its speed and is ready at the more or less the same time. Because we also see that other initiatives for polyester recycling are more or less at the same time ballpark and are ready in 2024.
Okay.
I would like to add to the legislation that also the awareness of the public and of the people is also growing. So this type of industry, in the chemical recycling in general, but also other types of recycling, have momentum right now because we all can see what happened to Glasgow a couple of weeks ago and what is happening in the societies all over the world. So this awareness is growing very quickly, and therefore I think this initiative has great momentum right now.
Okay. What do you need from investors to be able to have this commercial plan? You say you want to be commercial, and it's a blinking of the eye. 2024.
That's correct. And what we see is that at a certain moment we need investors to be on board. But we are very selective in that, and only want to have investors who are not going for the big returns, but the short-term returns, but are focused and real industry partners who are seeing that we need to change.
A long-time involvement.
A long-time involvement, and are dedicated for the change in the world of how we use polyesters.
Okay, I see another question already on the screen. How do you see PET depolymerization development in Japan and China? Are they developed faster than the European counterparts do?
It is a little bit different. There are initiatives which are a little bit faster than ours, but they are using, for example, clear bottles, and we don't want to use that because we don't see in the long term that is a valuable material for chemical recycling.
Okay.
So that is a little bit different. So we see a lot of initiatives, and each technology is slightly different, and each technology has its own requirements for raw material specifications.
Okay. Shall we turn to the both gentlemen we have on screen, Stephen Short and Henk Pool? To start with Stephen Short, how do you look at this field of innovating technologies?
Right. Well, maybe I can pick up on a lot of what was said and answer the question at the same time, because on the competition with what's in place today and how do we get innovation going forward, it very much links to the fact that what we're talking about is a commodity product. We're talking about a material that the price of a bottle or the price of a container that contains your salad or your sandwiches at the supermarket is taken as next to nothing. So we've got to be very economically minded, and that's why virgin prices have some control. But with legislation, it is being driven. Legislation will force the issue, 25% recycled content by 2025, and then 30% by 29 in a PET bottle. That is European legislation. So we must achieve that, and that's where Petcore comes in. We assist with Cure and other innovators like them to bring along to make sure that we, if you like, grease the engine. The engine needs greasing, and that engine is in Brussels. To make sure that the politicians don't focus purely on winning the votes, on being green, The first thing they want to do is reduce. Clearly, that's understandable. But what we've got to look at is reuse and recycle. And recycle typically has to also run hand in hand with circularity. Because what we're looking at here is the bottle or the textile or the polyester that's brought back from the market goes back to the market as polyester. And that is very critical for us. What I would say is, again, on the worldwide basis, if you've got Evian or Perrier water in a plastic bottle and it's being sold in Bulgaria, then how do you handle that proximity? So this has to be on a global scale. And that really brings in the aspect of chemical recycling and mechanical recycling. By the synergy between the two, you've got a complete picture that you can handle all the waste in all the regions and transport the product. So if Marco comes out with, the starting blocks of polyester, then they can go back to a virgin plant like Indorama in Rotterdam, for instance, and make virgin PET again. It's that circularity without leakage that we're after. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, that answers the question. In the preparation, you mentioned you wanted to discuss more thoroughly three of these aspects, the challenges focused. What is the main challenge or hurdle, you would say, at the moment?
The main challenge is to eliminate the negativity of plastic.
The acceptance of plastic.
And that's a holistic. Exactly. We have gone into a hole. If you've got a truck that's got its back wheel in the hole, what you try and do, you try and lift it out before you drive. Don't drive until you've got yourself away from the danger. So what we've got to do is we've got to come with solutions, and those solutions, wherever they are, and I just call it recycling and circularity. Mechanical, chemical is our business. Try and explain that to the public, and they wouldn't understand it. But go to recycling, and then we give the solution. We give it holistically, and it's believed in. It's proof of concept. Because most of the people I talk to in the street say, "Oh yes, I put it into that orange bag to go to the plastic recycler." But basically, it goes into incineration. So there is a disbelief out there. So we have to be good on communication, education, and bring up the quality of our product to be respected, where at the moment it is not respected at all.
I see Henk Pool nodding. You want to reflect on that, Henk?
Absolutely. And I think I want to start with an important word that was used a few times, but let me also elaborate a little bit on that. It's the word complementing. So what we need is not a competing environment for solutions. We need a complementing set of solutions. And let me illustrate why that is the case. At the beginning, you showed the Cefic video on chemical recycling, and in there is an important number. The number is 15% of what is currently being collected is recycled back into products. If you take that number and you look at what it is in actual volume, it's about 5 to 6 million tons of plastic coming back to the market, which is good. Now, the first legislative target is a 10 million ton, or the voluntary target is a 10 million ton target by 2025. That means that we need to double what we do today. Doing more of the same, in other words, doing more of mechanical recycling is not going to get us there. So we're going to need the solutions like Marco is presenting, Cure, other solutions as well to come to chemical recycling.
Yes.
That is important. Secondly, and let me add a complementing dimension to what Stephen is saying. I completely agree. But when you look at what is value, we slowly need to start thinking towards what is value in 2050. 2050 looks for sustainability. That is a combination of economics, It's a combination with environmental impact and with societal dimensions. And you need to have positive contributions in all three in order to make it in the long term. So when we look at virgin pricing, that is clearly an economic reason, right? But we need to find, that was Stephen pointing out very clearly, the societal dimension and also the environmental dimensions on top of that. And the environmental dimension is very clear. We want to basically use waste as a secondary raw material to our industries. So working in combination, working in an orchestrated format is exactly what we should be doing.
Okay. Back to Stephen Short then. The financial aspect, can you take us a little more into your opinion on that? What need investors? Well, we heard Marco said, I need long-term investors, not the short-term.
Yeah. I think, for Petcore, firstly, I've got to say we're non-prescriptive. We're facilitating, so we do rely upon the industry themselves to get going. Of course, we can advocate the support from government grants, etc., to support this industry. So firstly, it's got to get priority in the eyes of the politicians. For receiving grants, etc., to support this industry. Why would you put money into coal mining, for instance, today after COP26? So we've got to make sure that the plastics industry, PET particular for Marco and myself, has a future, a solid future. Once we've proven that point, then yes, the politicians have got to become cooperative and supportive to make it work. The other side is, once you do get that going, and you get the value in collecting this waste and recycling it back into virgin materials by depolymerization, you will get the investors. Look at the banks. They are all going for green technologies. They're lending money like crazy to anybody who comes with a great idea, like solar panels on ironing boards in India, for instance. It's a great idea because a tremendous amount of ironing is done in the fresh air in India. Yeah. So we've got to get to that positivity, and you will get the combination, i.e. the politicians are supporting us because they see it as their vote and we'll win. And the other side is you get the entrepreneur saying, wow, I want to put my money in this now because it is technology. So legislation will drive it to the degree we have to have it. And then you've got to get the positivity back with the understanding, respect, and appreciation of what we're doing.
Yeah. On this path forward, what has Petcore Europe to offer?
Right. Well, we started life over 30 years ago, Petcore. Petcore Europe's been in existence for 30 years. We were getting the PET bottles. In those days, it was a very positive business in the 1990s. It was growing like crazy, replacing glass for the obvious reasons of safety, etc. And therefore, the bottles were getting collected. Unfortunately, it was linear, or it was downgrading. It was going into polyester fiber in China. That's where the polyester fiber is made these days. And slowly but surely, we've got the ability to keep these bottles in Europe and use them as the common resource that Henk has mentioned. Yeah. So in this respect, it is an evolution that the industry has grown. But from Petcore's standpoint, we do facilitate. We've got 9 working groups working on NIAS, non-intentionally added substances, on LCAs, on depolymerization, of which Marco is involved in. We're facilitating, and we're using that in our advocacy. We spent 450,000 euros last year on a communication campaign. Okay. To educate people. You can go onto the website, recycletheone.com, and you can see what is achievable by getting these plastic materials back and getting them back into virgin again. Yeah. And that's where Petcore can, as I say, grease the wheels and make the platform for our members to appreciate the scale of the whole effort.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see some. You wanted to reflect to that, Marco?
Yeah,
or not?
well, I wanted to say that polyester is a perfect molecule for recycling because you can cut it in pieces and build it up again. So we're playing with that. So only the technology has to be developed. That's the main issue. But the polyester is a perfect material for sustainability.
Okay, maybe you can reflect to the next question we have on screen also. How will the producers of virgin PET react towards the recycling initiatives?
Can I take that, Marco?
Yes, yes. Yeah? Please pick it up.
Because I'm an old producer, you know. I was with Eastman, who were the biggest in the world, and then Indorama, who make 6 million tons of this damn stuff around the world globally, the biggest producer. It is their future. If they don't grapple with this and decide to use the collected waste as a raw material and replace non-sustainable fossil, then they're missing the picture. Okay. And the producers are clearly doing this already. There are 5 producers who are taking bottle-grade food contact cleaned flake and melt injecting it into their reactors. So there's a company in Germany, Spain, in Greece, where 10% of their virgin polyester is coming from collected recycled bottles that are going back into the melt. Okay. Already done. And that's by partial glycolysis, which is actually a partial depolymerization process. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's working. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening already. So if they want to be part of the future, they have to jump in, and they do jump in at the moment.
Absolutely. Okay. With big money.
Okay. Yeah. With big money also. Cor, I saw earlier you wanted to react also.
No, because also linked to this question, I think. But I would like to come back to the theme of investing. And of course, when you are using plastic waste, we want to avoid incineration. And we want to keep carbon into the loop, into other products. Yeah. And that's also something to do with sustainability and greenhouse emissions. And we see that all of the investors, especially also from the chemical industry, strategic investors, are very much aware of this development. And I totally agree with what Marco says about investing, that you need committed investors. Not investors that are going for a short-term return on investment, but committed investors, mainly also from the sectors itself. Yeah. Because we can see in the region that in other initiatives as well, the financial investors are looking into in a different way, because there are some risks involved as well, and people cannot always judge the risks in a good way. No. So I think there's a lot of money available, and therefore we also need to speed up, as Marco already says, because we in the region have the solutions for the problems, so we can bring also the solutions to the markets.
Okay, I see a nodding Henk Pool on screen again.
I keep nodding, right?
Yes. So you keep agreeing, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I want to illustrate my answer also with the slide number 4. So the technical crew slide number 4.
There's a slide with you.
Exactly, which deals a little bit with the policy frame. But let me start first of all. When you are an investor, you look at 3 things. You look at the technology readiness. One slide back, please. And you look at the technology readiness. You look at the business case. And I think also Stephen illustrated basically how the business case is evolving and developing and how crucial it is. And you look at what you see here at the screen. What is the legislative framework?
Legislation, yeah.
And in this particular case, what you see is all the legislation that is relevant for chemical recycling. And the slides can be made available to the full audience. They are clickable. So in other words, you can go immediately to the relative regulatory frame and take your look and study the details. But what is important is the arrows in front of pieces of legislation mark the legislation that is currently being updated, or where the European Commission has announced it will make updates, if not revisions. For instance, in the food contact that Marco was talking about, we will get a complete recast of what is out there today. If you are investing and you're staring at all these legislative pieces of work, and you look at all these arrows, and when I would take the example of Marco, so I don't know if I can use my material tomorrow for the food contact application because I don't know what the regulation next year or the year after is going to be. Yeah. You know what my answer is going to be, right? So that needs to be resolved. That is where Stephen, that's where myself, that's where others are working daily in Brussels to say, guys, get your act together, be clear on what you want, and don't leave this as an open gap, basically, or a big hole, in which everybody can end up basically being stranded.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that answer. I see on screen I have one more question for Stephen. You mentioned the sustainability expectation of the society. Today, this also should include greenhouse gas emission reduction. Is this a topic in your development, and how will you address this?
Yes, it is. And first of all, it starts again with education. It starts from the basic aspect of what is the state of play. Because we're being pushed now, for instance, to go to reuse. Now, there's a knee-jerk, what I call a knee-jerk reaction to take the bottles back, wash them, and refill them. So we don't have to treat them anymore. We don't need to mechanically or chemically recycle them. But the problem with that is, you think of how much fresh air you are transporting from the Albertine, the supermarket, to the washing center, and how much energy you're going to use to wash those things and then get them refilled again, and the quality doesn't look as good because it's a recycled plastic bottle, a reused plastic bottle. So, you know, these things have got to be taken in a risk assessment, they've got to be looked upon, and that's where we've got to assess what makes sense, and that's where the industry has to work through the likes of CEFIC and Petcore with the politicians to make judgment calls on what makes sense, because there are certain directives coming through that, you know, you say, oh no, carbon dioxide will be much higher emissions with that process than be it if we go this direction. So we have to be in that collaborative environment to jointly understand what is the best decision to make. I always say, yeah, you know, PET is not better than, it's not better than glass. No, PET is best for this application because it gives the best carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas effect, it gives the best sustainability, it gives the best circularity, etc., etc. So choose the best in class for every end use. I would never put French wine in a PET bottle, for instance. No, that's a joke.
Would you?
And also our development process is concentrating very much on the lowest energy consuming process. So that's very important also. And the energy which we are using, we are trying to make it as green as possible. So with the different options of which are available at the moment.
Okay. Is that the same objective, Henk Pool, in which CEFIC is working in the recycling routes to support companies and finding their way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, I mean, yesterday, for instance, I had a discussion with one of our members on circularity in 2050. And my statements are relatively straightforward. If it ain't circle, and it's still emitting, right, then you won't be on the market in 2050. So that's what you have to keep in mind. So you need to address both in combinations. Can I get there tomorrow? No. Can I start the pathway to get there tomorrow? You could have started yesterday. And I think that's also what Marco is indicating. He's ready to do a lot of things. And I think that is where we need that enabling framework. But I fully agree with the comments made. I mean, footprint, understanding of footprint, managing of footprints is something that is extremely important. What I wanted to say as well there is the renewable energy, particularly electricity, of course, is going to be an important dimension in all of this. And the abundance of that is, of course, something that we're all asking ourselves. Where is it? When is it? Where?
Yeah. With CEFIC, you are walking different paths. I don't know if everyone knows in the audience what CEFIC is, but we have a small video on CEFIC. Shall we watch that to have a picture of what CEFIC is? Yes? Okay, please start that video. In what way, Henk, is Cefic helping entrepreneurs like Cure?
Well, already, but let's say for the time being they are. If not, they can still become. But amongst the 29,000 is a lot like Cures, right? So companies that are starting up, having a brilliant idea and actually a very workable idea, but what they need is, first of all, the connection to, first of all, value chains, which in this particular case probably exist, but also secondly to, of course, the integrated chemical productions and value chains and product chains along those lines. So this is where we can help.
Okay.
We definitely can also help if we would have known Cure 5 years ago, right? And let's take ourselves 5 years back, where there would still be, let's say, needs for opportunity for innovation and things like that. We are working, and on behalf of our industry, working almost daily on what are the right innovation programs in Europe for which de-risking money is available, so co-funding is available. And how can we make sure that Europe Brussels understands what these opportunities are so that they can capitalize on that. So that is, for instance, example. So partnership, support from the business case development, and also providing the platform for visibility. Yeah,
and you're active in the different recycling routes, like mechanical recycling and chemical recycling?
Yes, we are. All of the above.
Okay, great. I see another question rising up in the chat. Molecules are also being used for open loop products like coatings, inks, greases, etc. How does the panel reflect on sustainability for those products in the light of chemical recycling and circular framework? Now, that might be a nice question for you.
I wonder who you were going to ask first, because that's an interesting question. And from my own perspective, as I illustrated before, I mainly look at the closed loop products, getting the molecules back into products again. But of course, the person who asked this question is right. But maybe this can also be attacked from a more content approach. Maybe, Marco, you have some ideas about this?
We are concentrating on product-to-product recycling. So we are making a PET at the end where products are being made of. So we don't produce monomers or raw materials for other applications. But that's a possibility, of course. But the question always is, at what's happening at the end of the life of the other application, and where are those molecules going to? Otherwise, it's not circular. If they end up in the incineration, then it's not circular. And that's what's happening now with textile, more or less. That a lot of the textiles are ending up in the incineration, and then the molecules are gone.
Okay. Then you should say, in relation to this question, that maybe chemical recycling is mainly dedicated towards getting the molecules into the closed
certainly
loop?
at the moment. Maybe in the future we can say, okay, there's a pool of molecules which are being recycled. They can be product to product or can be in an open loop system. But as long as at the end of the life of the other application it is being recycled and the molecules are coming back, then it's still sustainable.
Okay, I see Stefan bending forward. Please feel free to join us.
I'm glad you could see the body language. Yes, I want to make sure that what we're trying to achieve here is that collected waste becomes the new resource. Just as a blanket expression, and that public should understand that waste is not, that's what end of waste means. You take the waste and it's not waste anymore. It is a resource, it's a feedstock. So secondly, the public is actually trying to see also the circularity. So there are particular products that will exhibit that, and the PET bottle is clearly one of them. It's been like that forever. Because there are products on the market, Coca-Cola has them and Suntory, others, where the bottle is made from 100% recycled material. No virgin material is in. But that's not sustainable because you've got leakage, you've got quality issues, etc., etc. And therefore, you've got to have this synergy with depolymerization alongside. So PET is a little bit unique. Henk will add to this. Other plastics will come along, and they can be a resource to displace the fossil resource of feedstock and become products to make soap powder, toothpaste, all sorts of things, which also are required. What we're doing is stopping waste going into landfill or incineration and becoming a raw material, valued.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have a question related to that. Maybe Stephen or Henk, maybe you can answer to that. Because how do you look at the role of the waste companies? Because if you want to turn waste into feedstock, there is an important role to be played by the waste part of the chain, so to say. And maybe for PET, that's different from polyolefins, for instance. But anyway.
I'll give a quick answer to that, and then Henk can take the majority of the time. For us, we are actually hurting the waste management companies, because what will happen with PET bottles, we go into a deposit return system. They're already in place in Scandinavia, in Germany, in Lithuania, in the Netherlands, where you pay a deposit. When you go to the supermarket, you take your bottle and you bring your bottle back. No waste management company is involved in that. That goes immediately back to the recycler. So the waste management people are saying, oh, wait a minute, that's a resource we're losing, because that is actually valuable waste. They actually segregate the PET bottles in the waste bins, and they get value for it when they sell it on. If it's not, and it has to go to incineration, they have to pay for it. And that's when your green dot system falls in, because people prepay for the handling of waste that isn't recycled. Okay? So we are a little bit devil's advocate in the whole piece, the PET bottle, because deposit return systems will come, and that will support mechanical recycling. Then Henk can handle the other side. He'll say what I'm going to say.
I think so. I'm curious what Henk has to add, because maybe there's a take-home message from Henk in this also, because I think you have a slide that perfectly combines with the question we have on the table now, don't we, Henk?
Yeah, let me first start answering, and then I'll at one point give the slide command. Is that okay? So what needs to happen when you build circularity? So when you have a current linear value chain, in other words, you make a product, but ultimately it ends up in an end-of-life incineration or landfill. That's the current most practiced model, right? I mean, what we're talking about. So what do you need to do to build that circular mode is to connect the two ends of the value chain. And the most logical, and you see this as well, when you go to our website, you'll see a couple of examples. Keyword is chemical recycling. You see basically that the waste sector is starting to collaborate, form partnerships with the chemical industry, something that is probably unheard of in a couple of years ago. And now turning to the slide, I mean, what is actually happening and what should be happening? So when you look at, and we talked about this, when you look at resources, so what is available to make the chemical products that we are needing day by day? When you look at the Middle East and you look at the US, you see sources of fossil that is plenty available. In Europe, we don't have that. And that is where we have that end of life that I talk about. That needs to become the secondary raw material. So a lot of anticipation and collaboration there. Now, Europe has that unique opportunity to create that circularity, but it needs to do one thing, and that's the italic bottom line. You need to start shifting away from what we call waste orientation in thinking and regulation to a resource orientation. So something is not waste, something is a resource. And create preferably a single market for that across Europe as well. So particularly in the case of Cure, there is just a kilometer south from there is a border towards Germany. And if I have today a waste material in Germany, it's going to be relatively complicated to bring that into the MN environment. So but in a resource thinking, that would not be the case. And I think that is basically what I would say is a concluding mark. Shift from waste, think resource.
In the preparation, Stefan stated that you and he were actually like twins. He's nodding the same way you do during this broadcast. Stefan, you want to add something to it, or is your brother right?
What can I add to the superstar? Henk has got the big gambit. I'm very focused, and that's what I said. PET can be the showcase. It can prove now. I can mention Eastman Chemical, who owned the plant at Rotterdam Europort, put it in place in 1998, actually had the technology called Opticis to chemically digest PET bottles, even black bottles, back into monomers in 1998. But they couldn't do it because they didn't have enough collective area, 200,000 tons they needed to make the plant viable. in those days. And you can't get 200,000 tons of PET in the Netherlands. You have to bring it from outside. So this is it. It's getting to scale, and it's bringing it to the fruition that the world sees it as a valuable resource instead of a waste product.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for this, Ed. There's so much to talk about and so little time. There are a few more questions in the chat. Please, shall we take them and then come to a closure? If we are talking about textile recycling, I think the industry, someone of the viewers states, I think the industry and circular systems are by far not ready. What are your requirements into the textile chain to become fully circular? Now that might be a nice question for you, Mark.
Yeah, what we see at the moment is that the design for recycling is a very important one, because it's all the raw materials and the small parts like zippers and buttons, they are selected on performance and not on recyclability. So if we want to recycle textile, we need to do the design for recycling. And the other part is the return system, which is not available at the moment. So that are two different steps we are working on. And we're now looking at closed loop recycling. So really with brands designed for recycling, and we are organizing together that those materials are coming back. So in that respect, material passports are a very important issue. And we need to know what kind of chemicals are in. That's important.
And that makes the Cure technology unique, because you are starting from this closed loop approach.
Yeah, we started from the closed loop, and we can accept in a development, we expect that we will develop the process and additional process steps in the years, and then we can accept more and more different products because we are able to take them out.
Okay. I see a hand at Stephen. Please feel free, Stephen.
Hey, so off this. Just one quick observation here. Textile waste. 40% of the apparel textiles in the world is made from polyester, exactly the same properties of PET bottles. In the industrial world, seat belts, noise suppression, lots of products in the motor car, etc., all polyester. So the world is our oyster. If we can get these products back, just think what Marco can do with them if he can put them through his process. Because that feedstock is actually quite economic because nobody wants it. It's cheap.
He's right, Marco?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Then there's, it's not a question, but it's a remark in the direction of Henk. We could also attempt to prepare our PET from renewables or CO2.
Yes, and the industry is actually doing on that. Now, CO2 as a resource basically is, of course, 2 steps away from reality. It's practiced at reasonable laboratory scale plus, with some pilot units as well, but broad scale, not today. But I would absolutely say that is a direction we should and are working on as well.
Okay.
But I can see it as complementary to mechanical recycling, chemical recycling, and new materials coming from CO2, for example.
We need it all.
We need it all.
We need recycling, we need bio-based, and we need CO2 as feedstock. And that's, in fact, the whole range.
Okay. It's nearly 2 o'clock, gentlemen, so we have to come to a closure. We learned about a new technique, which you want to get, speed at.
Developed as quickly as possible.
As possible. We learned about all kinds of developments needed in Europe and the legislation that comes with it. Is there a certain thing you want the viewers to remember as a take-home message? Investors that are watching?
For the public opinion, it might not be seen as much as possible, but we are in the industry is working very strongly on making a solution for the plastics industry. And in the next years, it will be obvious that we have been working the last couple of years very strongly on that.
The impact will be visible within a few moments from now.
We're almost there.
Okay. Cor, what would you like us to take home?
I think it's important to realize that chemical recycling is part of the sustainable solutions we need in the coming future to bring about the ambitions to be realized in 2050. And people should be aware of that. That is not only mechanical recycling, but chemical recycling is a very important element in that process.
Okay. Stephen, in Wales at the moment? Maybe you will take a walk between all the sheep around you, but what will you address them after a moment like this?
My wish, my letter to Father Christmas is to ask him to tell every child in this world not to worry about the future, but make sure it happens. And the future is sustainability, circularity, and handling plastics in the right way.
Okay. These were beautiful words. I'm curious if your brother can get beyond that. Henk?
I will not top Stephen. No, not today.
No.
But my concluding remark is maybe along the same lines. If you see waste, so to the audience, to anyone, basically, if you see waste, basically think and act as a resource. In other words, dispose it properly. And let's make sure that the Marcos of the world and the others of the world can make a valuable product out of that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm looking forward to Christmas even more than other years this time. Thank you, thank all of you. Thank you all people who are watching us at home and taking notice of all our wishes for the future. Thanks, Stephen Short. Hope you have an enjoyable time in Wales. Thank you, Henk Pool, for being here with us, and also Marco Brons and Cor Kamminga here at my table. I hope you enjoyed it all very well and hope to see you another time. Thank you for being there. Bye.
Good. Thank you.